Now the recording from last class got lost. I had some real system issues with my, I'm assuming it's my laptop last Tuesday. But I did get the 3D game development recording saved, so I'm gonna put that link for that over in this class, and it was slightly different what we covered in class versus that, but it's probably 95, 98% the same. So I apologize for that. I don't know what was going on to cause me so many issues. I lost the morning's recording too. Okay. Well, today we're going to continue talking about animation. Last time we looked at the animation using some of the features of Unity, where we just could work with something fairly basic. Um, we're going to take a look at how to control animation via coding now. Kind of part one. There's different ways you can control animation through your coding, and so we'll be exploring this option. Um, this is kind of a primitive way we're going to look at here. It's kind of fun, but if you had to do very much animation, it would take you forever to to use coding to do all of it. Okay, so first thing we're going to take a look at is something called the canvas. Now over here in the gray area, I'm going to right click and I'll choose user interface and then I'll choose canvas. You won't see much change except for now it says canvas here. The idea behind this is a canvas that we're going to like draw on, paint on, except we're going to be painting user interface objects, such like a button or a text box or something like that. The idea on this is we're going to use some of these buttons to help control some of the aspects of our animation. Now with the canvas selected here, I right click on it and I do the user interface again and I choose text. Now if you're in a scene, you probably don't see it. You probably don't see any change at all. But if you change the game tab here, then you'll see the new text there. The back under the scene, if you have your canvas chose here, if you do that, it's either Shift F or Control F. Shift F. It'll bring your canvas to where you can see it. I'm going to hold down my Alt key and do my left mouse button to rotate it, I think. And I'll use my mouse wheel to scroll in. And then you see your new text you dropped on there. Okay. Now, canvas is chose now. But if I choose the text that I just dropped on there, now I can use my move tool. So you want to choose a move tool if it's not already chose to move it into the position where I want it to be. Now this feature might be something you'd keep track of the score in the upper left or right hand corner or whatever. And we'll be exploring more of that as time goes on. Again, if you go back to the game here, you see it appearing. Maybe that's not big enough. You got lots of different options on it. You got text here. Over here, you can manually type in your X, Y, and Z position. You can change the width of the text box or the height. I think it's still left aligned if you change the width. Here I can see the box because I'm in a scene mode. Game, you can't see it. So the box is this big. If I start changing my text, and again, you have to have your text shows here, and then there's a text box down here. Fourscore and some years ago, our country did something. It's about as much as I can remember of the speech. I notice it isn't showing here. You can change the width of it so you can see more of it on there. Down here, you got horizontal overflow, vertical overflow. There's wrap. There's overflow. There's overflow, showing that. Wrap, I'm guessing I'd have to change the height on it. There's got to be enough height there for it to change. Um, you notice that going like that? Well, that'd be a pretty good animation to create in game. You can see that in Star Wars movies.
I was just about to say that.
The what?
I was just about to say it looks like the beginning of Star Wars.
Right. So that's easy control via animation, via programming, things like that. Okay, so we got our text on there now. It's not very big, but again, you come over here. The one thing that I thought is really lacking was the fonts. Try to choose other fonts. There is no other ones, just Arial. So, boy, that's pretty limiting. And it could be for a reason. It could be that when you create the exe to deliver somebody, maybe it doesn't bundle the fonts with it. Maybe it assumes fonts on the destination machine. There's a lot of free fonts out there, so that's why I'm not sure why it isn't full of fonts. You can make it bold, italics, bold and italics. You change the font size. Guess I need to change the height at the same time on that. You can center it. Do all the things you might expect. I don't know what rich text does. If I had to guess, if you choose rich text, you can come over here. We'll see if I'm right. It doesn't look promising. Huh, no. I forget to let you put HTML in there. Rich text usually means you can come up here and you can individually change items. Like you can make this part red. But I'm sure not seeing any way to change it here. Okay. And materials, you drop a material block of sorts on there. I tried dropping grass on there earlier in the other class and it wouldn't let me. So it's limited in that regard. You can change the color. I want yellow. Yellow and blue actually looks a little bit better. You can do that. Now on the canvas here, I'm going to right click again. And I'm going to choose user interface. And you can drop an image. I'm not sure that has a whole lot of purpose. If I come over here and I right click in my gray area and I import new asset, go to my pictures and choose Bugs Bunny. Now for my image over here, You see there's a source image, and that should allow me to drag and drop it on that. Famous last words. No. If I do the drop down there.
Maybe you can drag bugs onto that.
No, it goes away when I try to do that. I never have used this image, to be honest. Sure no way to add an item on here, is there? Never mind that then. Some of these I've never used. Text Mesh Pro, I'm not sure what that is, to be honest. Center for using Text Mesh Pro. I'll delete that. I'll show you the ones I have used. So when you see me skip over some of these, that's because I've never used them. Let's try raw image. I never have used that. Raw images again has a material texture. There. Raw image allows you to drop the image on there. I'll choose game, go back there. Now I really don't know the benefit of doing that versus. No, before we couldn't drop a 2D image on, didn't I? Because I tried that. So I guess if you do want to drop a 2D image on a 3D game, that's the way you do it. Okay, so back to Canvas. Right-click on that, user interface. We got our button. That's kind of a standard one to really work with. Again, the scene is what allows you to change these position-wise. Right-click on Canvas, choose user interface, toggle. These would be for like a game. If you went into a preference screen and you brought up all the text and so forth, this would allow you to select options, which then would be saved off into some kind of file or database. So it would remember it. So next time you went in to play the game, those would be set for you. Now you notice that these have a little triangle to the side of it. You can expand those. And these are different items you can change. Like on this one, I could go to label and run in expert mode. So you can change what it says there. Now when you run these, there's no code behind any of these, so there's nothing. It won't actually do anything. But now if I click that, you can see I can toggle it, check it or uncheck it. The button I can click, these I shouldn't be able to do anything on because they're just very static items. The button again has its own. If I expand that, it has a text here and I can change what it says. If I right click on Canvas, I can choose the user interface slider. That can be useful. Again, the scene is where you need to be in order to move these around. Remembering that focus, where you can click this and do that Shift F or Control. I think it's Shift F. not Control F. That's invaluable to find out where in the world that canvas is. First time I used the canvas, I had no clue where the canvas was located at. I dropped it on there. I could drop items on there. I could see it when I ran the game, and in the game view there, but I couldn't actually edit it. And then that again, that Shift F brings it right up. What this does allows you to slide along here. For example, if you had a game where you wanted to allow them to set brightness, different settings of the screen. Some of those games do that when you first go into them. It says we want to tailor this, configure it to your display. And when it does that for me, I usually try to make them as light as possible so I can actually see what's going on. Because I guess my TVs aren't that good that I run them on, and everything's really dark and I can't tell what's going on. Maybe it's just my eyes, but that would be what you could use that for. Right click on that. Drop down. This would be used if you wanted to choose maybe a mode running in. Kind of like to run an expert mode. You could have this as 3 options maybe. Over here, expand the drop down. See there's a label here. This is where you can set your fonts and so forth, just like everything else. An arrow, if you want to change this to different item, you can, I guess. The source image, if you choose a little circle there, you can choose that, or check mark, or background, knob. The drop down here, if I scroll down, you'll see an options. It says option A, and I can click option A and I can say beginner. I can click option B, intermediate, and then I click option C, and advanced. Now when I run that, what the drop down does, similar concept as a combo box in other programming languages. If you do the drop down here, you can it drops down choices and you can choose whichever one. So I can choose advanced like that. Slider we hadn't looked at, but again, you just slide that back and forth like that. If I right click on this, choose user interface, input field. This would be if you want them to actually input something. Maybe you're asking them their name, so they can type in their name. This would be obviously different if you're you're programming a 3D game, just a standard one for a PC, versus when you're programming for a virtual reality environment. You don't have a keyboard with the virtual reality. So again, different thought process you have to think about on that. Let's see, user interface. I guess that's really all the ones I wanted to show. Is there any questions on how to create the basic interface? Okay. Well, let's talk about some animation based upon armatures, bones. So I'm gonna I'll go ahead and not save as. I'll go ahead and save that, I guess. Save that. Then I'll do an open. Where we're headed is creating a little demonstration similar to this one. And if I play this, I don't think you'll be able to hear the sound. Not quite sure why. I don't see anything in the sound here that should prevent you from hearing my system sounds on my computer. But if I run this, that's a jazz playing in the background. If I press my R button, the R button raises the robot's right arm. If I press the L button, that raises the robot's left arm. If I press my left Alt key, and then I do like the R, it'll lower the arm. If I press the L after doing that Alt key, it will lower that arm. So the Alt key reverses the direction that it goes. If I click this button and keep clicking it over and over, then I have that arm raising. So again, we're controlling our animation via the button, or you can just have it run automatically all the time. Now, first I'm going to work with the robot, and then I downloaded a skeleton, and I think I saw the reason why the skeleton wasn't really working very well. Your bone structure has to be there, and I thought this was very detailed when I looked at it. But then I realized that the arms don't even have bones in them. Fingers do. But the bones, there was nothing here. I was trying to move the arm up, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I probably was grabbing some of these and trying to move it. It just wasn't working well. The robot I downloaded was a lot better. Had kind of our standard armature in there, the arms and legs and so forth. You notice these over here, I'm in pose mode. Well, maybe I got to rotate them. No. Maybe it's these. There. If I grab the right bone and move, like this right here, I did a G for grab on that, and move that, then I could simulate a walking pattern. And we might actually play with that a little bit. That bone is our invert IK. Okay, the IK-R that I was saying I wasn't sure what that was earlier. The IK typically stands for inverse kinematics, if I'm saying that right. And what it allows you to do is, based upon I didn't realize you had to have these out here. But it's kind of a bone that's not really part of your mesh. It controls those other bones. It's kind of the general gist of it. Now, where you can find these models, now I've showed you this website before. It's TurboSquid. And if you do a search here, the price, what I can afford, free. And then over here, the formats. If I choose drop down there, I choose Blender. And then even further from that, you see where it says rigged. This is what you want to choose. The rigged are models that already have the bones in them. So you don't have to sit there and try to set everything up. And this is the robot I downloaded. That one has worked pretty good. Skeleton didn't work very well. Here's an animated deer. I'm not sure if I want an animated deer. Here's a wolf. Let me choose a wolf. And I'm going to go ahead and download that. Maybe. I click it. Click it again. And I'll do the show all. I'm already logged in. But here's wolf.blend. So I'll click that, throws it down here, and I'll click wolf blend that. I'll open it up. And
I need to use your restroom real quick.
okay. That gave me a chance to figure out where in the world I need to be. I'm not sure what it's like. It's in the preview pane, and I'm trying to remember how to switch out of that.
Isn't that under render?
I thought so. I thought it was under here, but maybe it is over here under the.
No, I meant like up in the top left, that render.
Oh, this here.
No,
Oh, this.
right next to file, that one.
That's where it takes you. That's how you get into it.
Never mind then. I already customized my settings, so
Oh,
I can't remember.
jeez, that's bad. I can't remember that. Positing 3D full view. Oh, okay. There's bones. I don't think I'll use this one. Finally. Okay, here's the bones. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna use this one. That wouldn't be bad. They put a lot of effort into this, obviously. And if you grab an item here and you try to really take it too far, it won't go anywhere. I'm guessing. Maybe I'm lying. You can put constraints on your bones so they can only go so far. Like you shouldn't be able to grab the head and have it go back like that. And that's what I thought all these lines were, is they had some constraints on there, but they don't. We may play with the wolf. That's in downloads. Because if I grab the right bone, the reason why I said I wasn't sure if I wanted to use this one, you notice what that bone's called? Bone.002. This one's called Bone.001. That's kind of like the naming I would use for my bones. And so that's kind of hard to work with when they're not named nicely like the other ones. But anyway, let's create a new project. And here it is. I try to remember where to rename the bone. Okay, so if I want to work with that one right there, maybe I just want to move it. Then that's called Bone.002. So let me rename that as neck bone. Do a file, save as. I'll save it under my downloads. Is fine, I guess. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's still loading. Now I wanted sound also, so I went to this site, freesound.org, fantastic place. I grabbed some jazz. Let me grab something else. Classical. I wanted classical music playing in the background. It's not too bad. Classical suspense. Okay, so I'm going to download that. And click download here. Love this site. And it's downloading over here, the bottom left-hand corner. You have to consider sometimes the size of your file you bring in maybe isn't what you want to do for your game. That's like a 6.2 megabyte sound clip. I'm not going to worry about that for this game. Okay, it's in downloads. I'm going to cut it. And I'll put in my pictures. Paste that in there. First off, we'll get some sound playing. So right click here and I'll say import new asset. And I'm under my pictures already and the sound, classical suspense. Now I'll drag and drop it in my hierarchy. And so now whenever it plays, I'm going to change the volume a little bit over here, bring it down. Whenever I play my game, it'll play that. Might feel still a little bit loud, like that. Okay, so let's bring in our models. I'll bring in all three of them, and then we'll take a look at changing the code behind them. So I'm going to right-click, import new asset. Do I have anything here? My skeleton. Let me bring the skeleton in. I'm going to right-click. Maybe I have to wait. Yes, I do. Okay, then I'm gonna right click and I'll import new asset. I think I'm not sure where I did wolf. I think it was under downloads, wolf. And I'll right click and import new asset, and I'll bring in the robot. And I see the robot here. I thought it was under my desktop, but that must be it. Okay, I'm going to drag and drop the robot on my hierarchy. I'll drag and drop the skeleton on there. Drag and drop the wolf on there. And okay, so some of these I'm going to rotate around, looks like. I think. Yeah, they're all facing the other direction. Could just move my camera, but I seem to have better luck rotating objects than the camera. Camera I get there, it takes a while. So 180 degrees. 180 degrees. And 180. Okay. Now move the wolf to the side a little bit. I'm trying to think. Either X or Z. Let's do X. That's not it. Of course, I'm in rotation. Okay, let's try it again. Five. Okay. Then my skeleton. -5, I guess. Not sure what that'll do to the animation, but we'll see. Okay, so now I got my three items on here. I'm going to program the robot's bones so it'll raise its arm. Now, if I expand the robot here, I see its armature. Expand that. Actually, these were the ones that did some really cool stuff when you move the IK, the inverse kinematics. But we'll do the arm to begin with since I've already done that. Now I'll go back to inverse kinematics. Where in the world's the arm? Okay, so we're going to program upper arm, this right here. So, and I could put this on an empty. I think I put it on the robot before, but if you put it on a robot and your robot gets destroyed, then you can't have it control anything else. So it really is best to put it on an empty. So I do game object create empty. Down here, I'll add the component and I'll choose a script and move everything. I'll double click, move everything. And I'll go ahead and, to begin with, put it in the update here. I'm going to declare a game object up here. This is a generic definition of a game object in our game. And down here, I'll say G is equal to game object dot find. And this is where we put in the name of the bone. Excuse me. So I'm wanting upper arm underscore L. So here I'll put in upper arm underscore L. So I typed everything correctly. Now if I did a G.transform dot rotate, I'm trying to remember, I think it's about to Y. And then I put in 0.5 F, 0. This is going to be based upon the frame rate with that kind of setup. And now if I attach that to Unity, and I run this, the arm automatically moves because we're moving the bone. But it moves too far. But what I really want is I want to multiply this times the time dot delta time times I think 50 is what I was using earlier, and that gives a decent speed. This is no longer based upon frame rate then, it's based upon time. Now click attach to Unity. I'll stop that. Oh, thank you.
You done at 3?
The what?
You done at 3?
Down to 3, yes. Now if I run this, you might say, well, that doesn't look like it's changed very much. Well, now when I run this on different machines, it should be relatively the same. So you shouldn't have differences based upon how fast a particular machine is. Okay, now what I really want to do is I want to control this by pushing a button. So I say if input dot get key and no memory. I can't remember if it's down or just get key. I'll choose that to begin with. key code dot R, because I'm moving the right arm based upon me viewing the object. And that's when I'll do that. Okay, so attach that to Unity. Now if I run that, it isn't automatically moving, but if I hold down my R key, it goes up like that. Now I can program the other arm. So if I copy this and paste it, and do an L. Now this is why it's nice to have naming conventions, because if this is upper arm underscore L, the other one is upper arm underscore R. Now attach that to Unity. Yeah, let me run this then. R should raise the right arm. It does. L should raise the left arm. And it does. Now, just to see what in the world these do is inverse kinematics. See here, I got negative 0.72. If I change that to 3, I don't see it changing anything. If I change that to 3, I don't see it changing anything. Change that to 3, I don't see it change. Oops, E. Change that to 3, I don't see it changing anything. So maybe the inverse kinematics in Blender doesn't translate over, so I won't fool with that. But let's look at the wolf. The wolf, I renamed the bone so I could easily find it. If you can't find it right away, you can do a search here. I can come up here and type, I named it neck bone. This is one we're going to try to change. That's pretty severe change. That's going side to side. That's not what I want. I don't think that's what I want. Let's do this one. I may not be able to. There's 0. There's 0.2, 0.4, 0.6. Okay, so it looks like that'd be a lot more reasonable to approach. And I'm changing the position of that. I wasn't doing a rotate over in Blender, so I was assuming I could do a just a position change here, and it would cause that. Well, I can again program that here. I'll copy something. Paste that in. And I'll be running out of letters pretty soon. We do a P. How about W for wolf? Okay. And I need to search for. I don't know what happens if you got 2 bones with the same name. It's a good question. Which one it finds, or if he even lets you bring it in. Neck bone.
I think that it would make the first one in the hierarchy move. Like if it was higher up, it'd probably move that one.
I bet it would. That makes sense for it to do that. Okay, and on this one, I did a translate. I think is the dot translate. And no memory. I changed Z. So X and Y I leave as is. But Z I'm going to change by a factor of, I think it was 0.1. But we throw the time element in there, and I'm not sure what that should be. We'll leave it at 50 and see what that does. Head might really go askew. Okay, and that was W for Wolf. Okay. You see, you can go down too far. But that shows you moving the wolf. Now the skeleton. That's one I was trying to work with earlier and just had a real hard time. The bone I want to play with. It's just really just seems so awkward here. Go to properties. There you go. Go to the single bone here. And what am I in? Object, pose. Control chest, jaw. That's not the one I want. Control neck. Yeah, there it is. I should be able to make the head flop back and forth on that. And I'm probably doing a rotate right there if I had to guess. So that's control underscore neck. So through my code, and bones B. And control underscore neck. That's weird. Huh. Okay, so let's I'm just wondering why control underscore neck appeared there among those other 5. I wonder if it's because I did refer to it over here. So it automatically put it in my list. Okay, rotate. That's about 29. That rotates back. What does X do? I think Z might be the one. That rotates. -20. Okay, so I'd rotate it around that way. That just seems so counterintuitive to where, because our Y is normally up in Unity. And okay, well I can that one. Let me just do it so that the head rotates around all the time. Okay, so I'm not going to put that into a button, a press, key press. I'll just do this, and then I'm going to not translate. I'll rotate. And let's see, 0.1 F times time delta time times 50, 0, 0. like that. Attach that to Unity. Oops. And let's see if it rotates around. You see the skull rotating around. A little slow. So maybe I'll change that to 150.
Almost looks like something out of a horror movie.
Yeah, and it works out pretty good with the music. Can you hear that music?
No, we don't have audio. I don't, anyways.
Yeah, I don't know why that didn't come through, because it's coming through my speakers on my something, and you think that you'd at least hear it kind of second hand, but
You may have an automatic feedback loop cancellation or whatever.
I bet that is. That's probably why it doesn't. Because otherwise, if you had yourself unmuted, it'd be kind of a mirror, you know, kind of like going back and forth. So, but it actually is playing suspenseful music there, and while the head's moving around. I was thinking they had just designed the bones wrong on that, and I couldn't animate it for some reason. There was constraints or something on it. Because you can put constraints on it such that your bones can like only go so high. Now, what I want to do though is merge what we can do with the bones with the user interface. Again, just introduce the user interface and introduce moving bones. You can see how tedious this would be. If I wanted these three characters to be dancing to YMCA, for example, it would take me forever to program this, you know, using the code like that. We're going to see that there's other ways of doing that. One of them is built in within Unity, and then another one is you create the animation over in Blender, and then you play it here. And we haven't looked at that yet. Besides the automatic playing, I'm talking about triggering it to play. Doesn't mean you still won't necessarily move your bones through code here, but truly intricate animations, you wouldn't want to do it with this way. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my scene. Oh, I have neck shows. That is why I was coming up with those. Good thing the weekend's getting close. So I'm going to right click over here and I'm going to choose the user interface and I'm going to drop on a canvas. And I'll drop on a button. And user interface button. And for this button, I'll have it maybe change the rotation of the head on the skeleton. Now I can't really see it here, but again, to bring the canvas in focus, if I have this selected, if I do my Shift F, then that shows you where in the world is it at. I think it's on the wrong side. So I hold down my Alt key and do my left mouse button. I can move it over like that. Again, if you have it that way, if you have a button chose, then you can use the different components here to move items. If you have your game, you see where it's currently at. So I'll move that over a little bit, and I'll expand the button. Go to text, and I'll say reverse head. And now I have for the skeleton, I have that in a different script, And so I can go back to that script. And we looked at this before, where I can up here put public, see if I can remember, static and float and head, skeleton, head, direction. And I'll set it equal to 1. And I'll put an F on there to indicate float. Now putting this public static on there, that allows me to update this directly from other pieces of code, which works out well for what we're going to look at. Now down here, for the movement, besides multiplying it times 150, I want to multiply it times the skeleton head direction. As it's going positive, it's going one direction. If you make it negative, it'll go in reverse direction. So now let's take a look at the code of how to change this. I'll go ahead and attach that to Unity to send it over. Now for our button here, I have that selected. Remember, we come over here, we create a new script. So say add component, new script. And I call this reverse button. I'll try to give it some kind of naming convention. BTN, reverse, head. That's probably script. So I'll double click that. I don't need the start and update. I can delete them. And I can create whatever I want to call it. Public void, change. I guess that's it. Oops. That wasn't good. Public void, change, head. Okay, so then this right here is going to refer to this class name, which is move everything. So I'm going to say move everything dot, and over here I called this skeleton head direction. And again, by making that a public static, I can access it directly from over in this script. So dot skeleton head direction equals move everything dot skeleton head direction times -1. That's going to bring up my old value, which is a positive 1 to begin with, multiply it times a -1, and 1 times -1 is a -1, and that'll reverse the direction. Then next time I click the button, it'll be -1 times -1, which flips it back to a positive 1.
Don't you need to put an F after the -1 to make it a float?
Just in case, yeah. Because that catches me more. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. So, yeah, it's always a good idea.
What happens if you have an F for float there and you don't need it? Will it affect it at all?
No. Sometimes it just works. Like, I'm guessing this will work because there's no red squiggly. Let's try it. Send that over. See, no errors, right? Then I come over here. Again, that's going to be updating that, which then controls the direction of the skeleton reversing. Okay, so let's go back to here now. And this is what seems totally backwards to me, but I know it isn't. Is over here in a hierarchy, I got my script that I created down here. Then right above it is the button script. And this you can program on click. because that's what you'd normally do with a button. You click it. So I click this plus here, runtime only. This object here has to be the button that it's already assigned to. So I drag and drop that onto there. And now if I do this drop down here, you see there's a button reverse head script, which is the name of this right here. Then this is our class, and this is our method name. Some of these just come as default. I didn't create all these. What in the world did I call it? Oh, change head. So then when they click the button, it goes out there, it looks in that class, or looks here, looks in that class, looks in that method, and runs that. So let's run that then. There's a head going in that direction. I click the button, and I can have it go in the reverse direction. Now these are really geared. I probably won't focus in the virtual reality very much on actually inputting data, because you probably won't do a whole lot of that if you're developing that kind of game. But clicking a button is definitely an option. Seems like one game I went into, it was a free one, so may not have been designed the best. But I had to enter in the text, and I would click the letters down below. Have you ever seen that in one of those games?
Yeah.
Because there's no keyboard. So that's how they implemented that. A very easy way to do that right now with what we know is to, it's not the best, is to create 26 buttons down here. Now what I don't know is if the prefabs would probably be a better option. I think it would be. Because if you created one prefab and you were able to change the text on it, for example. But I haven't played with that in terms of the prefabs and buttons. Okay. Does that kind of make sense on what you could do with a button?
Vaguely, but yes.
I'm gonna try to change one more option before we're done. I'm gonna drop on a new element. I've never have played with button is usually what I played with because it's a real common one. And this toggle. Okay, so I got my toggle there. I'm gonna move that up out of the way. And I want this to control whether it's even moving or not. So let's see if I can figure out how to do that. Like I say, I haven't played with this, so we'll see how easy Unity is for determining that. As I look at my toggle over here for the script, I see on value changed and it's passing a Boolean. Okay, that gives me an idea. I probably need a script here. But before I do that, let me come back to my move everything. And I have something to control the skeleton head direction. Let me create a Boolean static Boolean, whether the skeleton should even be moving. Move. And I said equal to true initially. So it should be moving initially with that. Down here, I'm going to have an if statement. So I'll say if the skeleton move. And since that's Boolean, I don't need to check to see if it's true or false. That's assuming that I'm checking to see if it's true. Okay, so initially it's set equal to true. This should automatically be moving the head around. Let me attach the Unity on that. Get over to here. I want to put code behind this toggle button. And maybe I want to even change the label on it. So it says saying toggle, move or not. I'm going to click, I'm going to go back to toggle. And I want to click the add component. I want to drop on a script. And moving, toggle. Let me double click that. And I'm going to have a public void move skeleton. And I'm going to be passing in a Boolean, I think, flag. And I'm going to say if the flag, this checks to see if it's true, then I need to take move everything, which is the name of that class, dot, and what in the world did I call it? Skeleton move is going to equal to true. Actually, I want it to be opposite. How do I flip it to opposite? Let me create a temporary flag here where I'll retrieve that value. So I'll say temp is equal to move everything dot skeleton move. And then I'll say if temp is, and I'll put it here just to really emphasize it, true. Then I'll flip that to false. Else, since it can only be two options, then I'm going to flip this to true. Now, again, I'm passing in a Boolean to the move skeleton. Reason why I think that I need that is because over here, it said that this was Boolean, which means it's going to give me true or false. So I'm going to need to pass that true or false into somewhere. And I create a temporary flag so I could retrieve the current value, whether the head's moving or not. And then I check to see if it's true, then I flip it to false. Otherwise, I flip it to true. So let me save that. Maybe not. Errors. Public class to
After the original if, you have no closing bracket.
Oh, yeah, sure enough. Okay, so got that saved. So then over here, I need to drop that. Let me see, on value change. So I do the plus here. I need to tell which object. So I'll drop the toggle. Drop the toggle. Yeah, onto there. I choose a function. I call it moving skeleton. I think so.
You call that moving toggle, I think.
Yeah, the moving toggle.
Oh, yes, that.
Okay. And what's this flag here? Let's just try that and see. I might have to check that. Head's moving. If I click that, head's still moving. That's not good. Let me try to check this and see what that does. No text at all about anything on that. Okay, it's moving. I just click that. It stops moving. Okay, that's what that check does. Click it again. The head starts moving. Click one more time. It stops. So, anyway, that just shows you two different examples of manipulating those. It takes a little bit to wrap your mind around a canvas. I'm still not 100% there on the exact coding of Canvas. It just doesn't flow logically if you've ever programmed in like Visual Studio or some other package like that. Is there any questions on any of that?
Since Canvas is 2D, could you have the camera facing behind it and have the letters or whatever you put on it backwards since it's clear?
Yes, you can do all kinds of different things with it. Like you can have it alter, and we'll look at a lot more details on it, but you can have it alter to whatever view you're doing, or like you say, kind of go behind it also.
All right.
Well, I'll go ahead and save off the recording.